All right. Looks like we're live. Hey, everybody. Happy Thursday. We're almost at the weekend. Getting there. We're getting there. Hope everybody's had a great week so far. So, tonight I got a very special hack show. I have a guest on who was kind enough to agree to come on. Now, you've heard me talk a lot about on the show about snots, and apparently, most of you of all my guitars, you really, really dig snots. That's all the compliments I get is that's the best sounding guitar you have. I've heard it over and over again. And I've been asked many times, what are the pickups in snots? And why does snots sound as good as it does? And if you're new to the channel, snots is one of my Les Pauls. Well, the secret to snots is I get a set of Sheptones in there. I get a set of Heartbreaker Sheptones. And with me today is the owner of Sheptone Pickups. And here he is. Everyone say welcome to Josh. Hey, Josh, how are you?
Doing great, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
Good.
So, Sheptone Pickups.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you want to start there, or do you want to start? Maybe before that. Let's start before that.
You want to go how I end up here? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure like pretty much all of us. I mean, guitar's my life. I mean, growing up as a little kid, my dad was constantly spinning records in the house. I mean, that was just kind of the thing to do. Instead of gathering around the TV, we gathered around the stereo and spun records. And I guess somewhere around 10, 11, my uncle, I think, was living with us for a little while, and he played guitar, and he showed me a little walking bass line, and I played that repeatedly for about 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then, for me, it was Van Halen's 1984 album. That came out, blew me away.
That was
And I'm sorry?
That was the one. Everybody's got their record.
Yeah.
Everybody's got their guy. So for you, it's Van Halen 1984 record.
It is. I mean, up until then, I was sports memorabilia all over the wall. 1984 comes out, all that stuff comes down, and it's guitar from here on out. And so, that uncle ended up buying me a guitar, and I immediately took it apart, and for whatever reason, and it never got back together. So he bought me another one.
Mm-hmm.
I took that one apart. Never got back together. And the whole plan when I take it apart was, again, the whole Eddie Van Halen thing. I wanted to paint it red. I was trying to figure out how to do the black and white stripes. He was always talking about, modding the pickup and potting it, that PAF pickup, and taking the neck pickup out. And again, I'm 12, at this time, and I have no clue what the hell I'm doing. I'm just taking stuff apart and whatever. It literally took 3 guitars of taking apart until I finally clued in that I need to stop. And so anyhow, it kind of snowballs from there. So my aunt on my mom's side works at Carvin at the time. She works on the assembly line. So she's bringing me, different pots, caps, resistors, pickups, and all kinds of stupid things to mess around with.
Right.
And, I mean, not that I knew it then, but it all kind of fell in place and got me ready for what I do now, which was, I mean, the following week after I graduated high school, I went to work on the assembly line at Carvin. I was building and taking apart and testing X100Bs. So if, you guys have been playing long enough, in the 80s, X100Bs were one of the amps to have. And it ended up with the ultimate dream job there for a while, where I had to test the final product. So
nice.
So yeah, at the end of the production lines, I had this sound room that, the guys would wheel in these big, huge skateboards that had 8 to 10 412 cabinets on it on one board. And on the other board, they'd wheel in 24 heads, and it'd be my job. I'd have to play through them and test them.
Holy shit. All right, let's pause right there, because what I want, I've been neglecting the chat, and I want to say we got 45 people in here right now.
Sweet.
I just want to pop up to the top here, and I want to say hello to these fine folks for checking out the show. We got Joe Hervey in here, Guitar Fish. Bruce is here. Hey man, Zach Thong, James Severin, Stafford's Music Studio, Terry Himes, Christian Kushmick, welcome. Tim Seymour, Cyber Evil, Merrill J. There's Guitar Bazaar. How are you? William De Silva, Half Face, Visual Guys have been doing some demos of your pickups lately.
Yeah, man. Yeah, he and I were chatting it up earlier today.
Yeah, cool. Merrill J is here. Okay, I'm getting caught up here. Jack the Rabbit, hey, how are you? Half Face, James Severin, Six String Brian, Hank Hill, Sour Notes, Paul Loof. That's a mouthful. Russ Markart, Gary Tholander, Cyber Evil, Daniel Horsley, Dale Palmer, the original Paramutant, BB Made. Okay, I think I got. What's up, Doc? How are you? Yeah, they got some crazy names. Thomas Santiago, Marco's Images, Thrash is here. Ben Coombs is here. Welcome. Janice is here. Welcome. Lars Guitars. Cool. Dwight Bailey. Nice to see you. Rob F. Welcome. Okay. BB Made. Headstock Harem. David Ennis. All right. If while we're talking here, folks, because there's already a fair number of people in here. Hey, there's Crowbar. If you have questions for Josh as we go, please pop them in. Please tag me so I can see them right away, and I'll just I'll mention those as we go along. All right, so you got the dream job, man. They're wheeling in cabinets, they're wheeling in heads, and you're just plug play. And
Oh, it was the coolest damn job in the world, but I abused my privileges. Well, it's horrible. It's horrible now. But I have severe tinnitus now, and most likely because of that. But
for sure,
again, I'm a stupid kid at that time, 18, 19, so I abused it, and they kept writing me up because I'd practice and maybe play a little too much and not so much test the amps.
Right.
So, anyways, they ultimately fired me.
Oh shit!
Because I was wanking too much, But looking back on it, they're right. They had every right to. But it was the coolest job in the world. But it's okay because from there, I go to try and pursue a quote unquote real job in real life. I had studied accounting and stuff like that, and became a financial advisor and all that garbage. But I quickly realized that if I'm going to work 12, 14, 16 hours a day, that's not what I want to do. I want to go back. So, Carvin was, I guess, a family business. They had 4 brothers that ran it. And so I went back to another brother who ran another department and asked him for a job and just told him, hey, look, I want to work here the rest of my life and just gig at night. Can you find a place for me? And he did. And I kind of worked my way up the food chain from there. Ultimately did domestic sales for a while. That was, back when you still had to actually either mail or phone in an order.
Mm-hmm.
Then did their international distribution, then their purchasing, then their marketing and their buying. And I eventually, by the time I was 28, I kind of capped out. I wasn't a family member, so I wasn't going to do much more than that.
Right.
And I wanted to, I wanted to test my, I guess, put my foot in the water too, and make a run at being a guitar player for a living. So after that, next 5 years, I played guitar for a living, mostly throughout Southern California. And then I got a call from Gary Kaler of Kaler Tremolos. And again, if you're old enough, you remember Kaler Tremolos from the 80s.
Yeah.
He had acquired the rights back to his company. He needed help putting it together. I did that. Came in, helped him put it together. In doing that, I started meeting a whole bunch of guitar builders, kind of helped them put their companies together. And that ultimately starts what I had, which was a PR marketing firm where I represent a whole bunch of brands in the industry and artists. And one of them becomes Sheptone.
Right.
In 2008. And later down the line, Shep comes to a point where he's basically ready to retire. And he and I were having some discussions, and it came down to the decision that I would buy it from him. And it kind of, it snowballs from there. So took a couple months flying up and back and forth on the weekends to sit
Where
down with him.
where is he? Where, if you don't mind me asking, where is he located, and where are you?
At that time, he was up in Washington, just outside of Seattle,
Okay.
and I'm down in San Diego, down in California.
Oh,
So again, I'd fly up there, hang out with him, and again, I've been tweaking with electronics when I was a kid. When I went to Carvin, I knew amps and the mixing boards. And then I would also spend time with Lowell Kiesel, dad, who actually started the company back in 46. And that was how he started. He was making pickups for lap steel guitars and selling them direct in the back of Popular Mechanics magazines.
hmm.
So when I'd hang with him, we'd talk about stuff like that too. And just again, at the time when Chef was ready, I was kind of bored. Guitar playing wasn't doing it for me, and I needed something to tinker with. So again, the opportunity was just, it was perfect timing. So once we did it, which ends up being, I think, finalized in March of 2016, I rented a van, drove up there, picked everything up. I mean, everything that he used, I brought with me, down to the actual kitchen table that he started on a few years before. Just kind of figuring it out. That same kitchen table is still the same table I use, the same soldering irons, the same bowl that he used to rest the soldering irons in. I didn't want to change any of the mojo. I didn't want to mess with it because that was, I mean, as a player and knowing Brian Kahanick beforehand and some of the other artists, Shep figured something out that, in my opinion, and a lot of other players' opinions, no one else has. And so I didn't want to see that go away.
Hmm.
So like I said, I picked everything up, drove as carefully as I could all the way back from Seattle, and, put my head down and started building.
Okay. So you're doing that in addition to your other job, or like, is this now your full time? Yeah.
It's 50-50 right now. As we go into 2020, it's now about 50-50. I spend most of the morning taking care of my current clients. And then in the afternoons, it's all building. It's building and pickups. And there's obviously some
You got,
overlapping.
are you doing this all like you do this all yourself, or have you got a couple people, or?
Building pickups is only me. I mean, I do have a team on the PR side, but as far
Right.
as
Right.
building the pickups, I'm the only one. I wind, I assemble. I'm the one doing it all.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Cool. Cool. So what are some of the you mentioned some artists, like, or if you want to even go like the history of where Sheptone himself, like how he got started, and what artists are associated with Sheptone. I saw you had a bunch of people on your website and that, but tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, Shep kind of stumbles into this on accident. He's a player. He's been playing and was in a band. And a buddy of his had a guitar that he, just wasn't getting those tones out of. And Shep, being a tinkerer and liking to mess with things, the other guitar player kind of challenged him to fix it, and that kind of put Shep on a course to, he just went deep, man. I mean, he started tinkering with those pickups. Then he actually ends up actually buying a set of vintage PAFs for about $4,000 and taking them apart. And I mean, for lack of a better term, kind of reverse engineers it and tweaks it. And for many years before we officially started in 2007, I would venture to probably say he probably built a couple hundred by then. And it snowballs from there. I think he sold them on eBay, and one of his first customers is a guy by the name of Brian Kahanick,
Mhm.
who at that time just so happens to break in the Guitar Hero video games. He had a track up there on one of the, I don't remember if it's Guitar Hero 1, 2, or 3, but
Right.
he had a song called Gemini. And, that kind of gets him some attention. And simultaneously, I'm representing Brian Kahanick. He's a client of mine.
Okay.
Um, that's how I meet Shep.
There's a
But
connection. Okay, I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
yeah, and so again, Shep grows it from there. I mean, artists playing that have and buy Sheptone pickups, Uh, Obviously, Brian BK is still on board. Like I said, I think he's the first one that that's there, and he obviously has a signature model too. Bob Rock, the producer, all Metallica albums, Cult albums.
Yeah, I
I think he
know.
has a couple crew.
Mhm.
Bob Rock is an avid Sheptone user. Sam Bora still has a couple sets and some Les Pauls. I have some young guys playing them right now. A guy by the name of Paul Childers out there in Nashville. He's killing it. Also, Tommy Baldwin out there in Indiana. Great guitar player. That kid's killing it too. Out here in LA, Yoey Nakamura. Yoey's kind of a session hired gun. He's out with Brian McKnight right now and Stevie Wonder as their guitar player. Chris Trainer of Bush. Before Bush, he was in Helmet, but Chris is a total tone freak, as I like to refer to us. And been working with him on dialing a couple custom pickups for some guitars he has. Gavin likes to run it really loud on stage, and so that kind of plays tricks on the sound guy. So we got to do some custom tweaking for some of his pickups. So,
Mhm.
Brian Adams, Keith Scott, those guys have Sheptones in their guitars.
Cool. Okay.
So I mean,
You're out there.
there's a handful. Yeah, there's a handful out there. And it's pretty cool.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Like I discovered you just because I bought a guitar that had them already in there,
Yeah.
right? And
Uh-huh.
this thing sounded unbelievable, and I'm like, holy shit! Like, and I bought the guitar was heavily modded. It didn't come with the chip. It was heavily modded. It's an old 2000. Nothing very home about. It's an old 2005 Les Paul Classic that the guy that modded it was a heavy Jimmy Page guy. So he did the
Yeah.
Jimmy Page wiring, the out of phase. He did all that. He totally didn't turn it into a Jimmy Page guitar. And part of that was he put in the Heartbreakers.
Yeah.
And I mean, every time I play that guitar, it's like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And my brother, as I was mentioning to you
Yeah.
before, yeah, he's another avid Sheptone guy. He's buying them and throwing them in all his Gibsons, right? So you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
so you've got the Heartbreakers. You've got a few different lines of pickups.
Mm-hmm.
So did you want to maybe talk about some of them and maybe how some of them came about?
Yeah. The majority of the product line sticks within the PAF, vintage PAF range. So, around low sevens in the neck and then going up to just under 10 in the bridge. So the staple of the product line is the Tribute Series. That's what started it all for Shep, and that is by far our biggest seller still. And that's the most versatile, in my opinion, the best set to go with if you're kind of a player that does a little bit of everything. And the bridge on that is going to measure in about 8. Neck is 7.5, 7.6. And then I have two variations of that with the Alnico 2 magnet. Well, the Tribute comes stock with an Alnico 5.
Mm-hmm.
So the Tribute 2 has an Alnico 2 in it. Tribute 4 has an Alnico 4 in it. I mean, that's all that's different there. The windings are identical. Then everything else is a play off of that. We have the Brian Kahanic Signature Series, same neck, slightly hotter bridge. Then again, we have the Blue Sky set, which is a set of PAFs with an Alnico 4, really kind of targeting that creamy Dickie Betts tone.
Mm-hmm.
Again, now we have a hotter bridge pickup going at about 8.5. But we have a softer neck pickup getting in under 7.5. The next set is that Heartbreaker set you're referring to. Again, a very similar bridge pickup in number of wines and cosmetics material as the Blue Skies, but we change it out to an Alnico 5 magnet.
Mm-hmm.
And that neck is actually even lower output, running about 7.72. And that, there's some details within the build of the bridge and the neck that help you give get that almost single coil tone in the middle position when you roll back the tone. Again,
Yeah,
something that
it's
Jimmy was notorious for.
the sign of a good Les Paul's if it gets sounds a little telly in the middle position,
Yeah.
and you get that with those. Visual guy's just saying that he's saying FYI guitar hack. He's got a shootout of the Alnico 4 and Alnico 5 on his channel.
Yeah. And that's a great video that will demonstrate the subtle differences in what those magnets will do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I would have. I mean, I would have think that the Alnico 5 would probably be like a hotter output pickup.
Not so much output, but it will appear hotter just simply because of the characteristics of the magnet, the Alnico 5. I mean, they have a tendency to be brighter, a little more defined in the mid-range too.
Yeah, stronger.
So again, and the 4s just have a tendency to they just smooth out that bottom end and give it that creamy, what I always refer to as that creamy tone.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, he has a great video that demonstrates the two of them.
Cool. Yeah. So folks, check out Visual Guy's videos. If you're not sub to him, he's in the chat. Just click on his name, the 3 dots come up, and check him out. Cool.
Yeah, he makes great content.
Yeah. He's been in the I've just gotten to know him recently in the community, but he's put out some really good stuff.
Yeah,
it's a lot of pickup centric stuff too, which is really, really cool. Yeah. So in terms of I don't know if you're even thinking about this at all, but I mean, you're doing the pickups now. Do you see yourself maybe going into like the next? Because you've got a lot of background with guitars and the rest of it. Do you see yourself maybe going down that road?
I definitely won't build guitars. I know my limitations. Painting is one of them. Fine sanding is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Fret jobs and neck slots. Those are things that I just, for whatever reason, I can't do. I just don't have the patience. That is just way too damn detailed. Assembling them, building a strap from parts, I can do. But again, fret jobs, nuts, and stuff like that, I can't. So no, not there.
Maybe partnering up with somebody that does, and you do the electronics, and they do.
Well, there's as far as pickups, I do have a couple builders that do use the pickups. There is Copenhagen Guitars out in Denmark, Volt Guitars out in the Netherlands, Lagrange Guitars out in Israel. Here in the States, John Wallace. A lot of the Max Barnett. I mean, he's one of the most famous restoration specialists for vintage Les Pauls and building replicas as well. I don't know if it's exclusively Sheptone, but I know he uses a whole lot of Sheptones. And same with Gordon Miller up there in Canada, kind of does the same thing. He kind of caters to a high-end customer who has, those vintage Les Pauls that need to be restored. He drops the Sheptones in there, the tributes. So there is some collaboration. I'm talking to some bigger names. I would say, for whatever reason, since the turn of the year, I've had a lot of inquiries from builders wanting to do it. So I'm in, but a Sheptone branded guitar, no.
Yeah.
I don't think that's where Shep would have wanted it, and I definitely don't want it. I mean, there are some accessory plans in the pipeline that'll come out this year, but nothing like that.
Anything you're free to talk about at the moment?
I've been on the fence ever since you and I have been talking, getting ready for this, whether or not to disclose it. And as much as I really want to,
it's up to you.
You might get it out of me by the end. But the only thing I'm hesitant about is I don't want to say I'm going to have it ready to go by the end of April and I miss it by another month. I just know as a consumer, I hate when that happens, when products that I'm waiting for, so
Yeah, I just found out a product I was hoping to get at the end of the month. It won't be around till June now.
Yeah, and again, kind of taking a play out of my own playbook as a PR guy representing all these brands. That's rule number one. If you don't have it, don't announce it. It's not like it used to
Right.
be, again, 15, 20 years ago, where before the internet, we can announce a product and not deliver it for 3 to 6 months. Now it's unacceptable. I mean, the minute we show something on the internet,
Yeah.
you better be able to ship it. So
Yeah. I hear.
anyhow,
Well,
but hey, like I said, you might get it out of me by the end, though.
we got a question
Yeah.
from Sour Notes saying, has anybody heard Alnico 8 pickups? Just saw a set but never heard them. Alnico
Yeah.
8.
hmm
Okay. Can you tell us something about Alnico 8s? I mean,
Yeah,
apart.
who uses them right now is Phil X. He has been using El Nico 8s in his pickups for, as far as I know, for years. He has a signature model with another manufacturer, but he loves them. And I have a couple sitting out in the shop. They, I would say, if you take an El Nico 5,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, I call it compressed. It compresses the sound, the dynamics a little bit.
Right.
Or I guess the other way to look at it is it increases the mids.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not going to be as extreme as an EMG, but you're getting closer to that EMG tone.
Right. So let's geek out a little bit now that we're talking
Yeah.
about Alnico. So if you were like to describe to the folks we have in here, what would be the most noticeable difference between, like, let's say the more typical, like an Alnico 2 and an Alnico 5? Like what would be the most noticeable difference if you were to compare those back to back, which is probably something Visual Guy is already doing, but for the purposes of the show.
I think where we hear it is in the low mids. That's when you go, when you're comparing a 5, a 4, and a 2. I mean, there is a 3. I don't use a 3. A 3 doesn't have any cobalt in it. I don't know if anyone currently uses an Alnico 3. Gibson did,
Yeah, I was thinking the Gibson.
but I mean, I haven't seen it around in a while. But you're going to notice it in the low mids, and to me, I prefer the 5. The 4 again smooths out those low mids a little bit more, and you get what I again refer to as more of a creamy tone, a creamier tone. And then when you go down to the 2, those low mids are still softened up just like you would on the 4, but the highs get softened up as well. Um, it's And again, we're guitar geeks, so I think you all will understand. I mean, I define the 4s as creamy, the Alnico 2s as smooth. I mean, I think talking to anyone who's not a guitar player, they wouldn't know the difference. But
Yeah, well, everybody in here is basically a guitar player. So from what I'm picking up from you is you're saying, from what I'm hearing is the Alnico 2s would be a little less articulate than, say, a 4.
absolutely.
Okay. All right. Because usually all you hear about is low output, high output. Well, 2 are going to be lower output. 5 is going to be higher output, but nobody talks about them usually in terms of articulation and definition.
Right.
Visual Guy's got a question for you. Is Sheptone planning on making any type of Filtertron pickups?
Yes. I will tell you guys, I've screwed around with them. They're a bit of a pain to make.
Okay, explain what's like what a Filtertron, how it differs from.
Oddly enough for me, single coil stuff just takes me longer to do than a humbucker, and there's less components to them, but they require more manual time to them. The only issue I really have going and dropping a Filtertron into production right now is time. One of the things that I've been wanting to do since taking over Sheptone, and it was always a frustration of mine with Shep, is the long lead times. When Shep had the company, lead times were like 8 to 12 weeks. I've now brought that down to about 4 right now. Actually, I'm at 5. You placed an order today, we're looking at 5. But this I will share with you. My goal is by the end of this month to actually have stock.
Okay.
On almost at least the popular models, I will have stock ready to ship that day. I am busted my butt to get ahead of that curve and make that happen by the end of March. But and so really that's my biggest obstacle. As we kind of kidded yesterday, really we're talking about coils and magnets, and there's number of winds and tension and size of coils and how the magnet's oriented. It's just kind of the assembly of it internally. It much like I just built a set of these for an artist. The mini humbuckers,
Right.
they're just a little more of a pain to assemble. It's just, again, they're just longer, and I'm just trying to eliminate any obstacles right now from getting to that point of having stock. I just think that as a business, I lose business because a lot of people don't want to wait 4 weeks to have a pickup. I mean, I'm just as guilty.
Right.
And, it was my biggest pet peeve when I worked at Carfin doing the sales. I mean, who wants to wait for a guitar? I mean, yes, we were custom ordering it, just like I'm custom building it now, but no one wants to wait. So anyhow, that's really all it is. But yes, it is in the pipeline.
Okay.
I don't know if it'll make the cut by this year.
All right. Were you at NAMM by any chance?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, you were there. Okay.
Yeah, Sheptone wasn't as an exhibitor. I was there doing some business on behalf of Sheptone, but I was there representing my clients on the PR side. We had 8 clients exhibiting at the show. So,
yeah, we're gonna get. I'm gonna get into that a little bit later on. But we got another question for you. It's from Jerry W. Guitar Hack. I have a LP High Performance with the hottest burst buckers Gibson makes. When I turn the volume pots above 5, it produces extra noise. Is the problem with my pots, my pickups, or what?
Yes. I mean, I would imagine, I don't know what they're measuring, but it just might be I would have a hard time. It's going to be one or the other. It's either you got bad pots. The fact that you'd have 2 bad pots is kind of odd. So I would venture to say it's probably an issue more along the lines of the pickup. And if not directly within the pickup, it should be isolated to one pickup. If it's both, then, that raises an eyebrow. But, that could be a number of things. How close are you to your amp, I guess?
I think there's a problem with my pots. Okay, I'm just reading this to see if it's both.
Yeah.
Trying to. I don't know if it. I'm not sure if it's both pickups or just the one. Or would that possibly be maybe like the guy's not bonded, like it's internally? That'd be a ground issue.
Yeah.
Because when
I don't. Well, I don't think you'd have the noise if there was a ground issue. You would either have signal or you wouldn't. I think
because he goes when he goes above 5, so that's when he's like opening it. So I'm thinking like if he's got any kind of small harmonic, it becomes a louder thing as he turns up. I don't know.
It's true. Again, there's so many variables here. It could be the pot. It could be the pickup. I'd find it hard to believe that it's you got 2 pots that both of them would be bad.
That's why I think it's a ground, because it's the whole shebang. It's not just anything I see.
If you, because you're right. I'm immediately thinking feedback, but you read it as noise. I'm not seeing the feed for some reason, but if it is noise, then maybe there is an issue here with the ground.
Yeah. Here's another question from Robbie Miller, and Robbie's a new name for me. Welcome to the channel.
Robbie's a good fan.
Okay, cool. Robbie, hey, please like and subscribe. What's the one biggest myth you hear about pickups all too often? Also, that's also bad.
That they all sound the same. Uh, they don't, man.
They do not.
And again, just like all guitars don't sound the same, all cars don't drive the same. I mean, there are, yes, they are made of, I guess you could say, similar components. Some are better than others. But there is a method to the madness in what makes one better than the other. I mean, it's no different than why a Ferrari is different than, you know, a Tesla, and why they're different than a Kia, and why they're different than a truck. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, they're all cars. They're all made of, you know, wire with 4 round rubber wheels at the bottom of them. But, you know, they have different intents in life. And, you know, but that, I would say that's the thing. You know, they all sound the same.
Yeah, and one thing that I talk a lot about, which I don't think gets enough attention, is like when you're talking about a pickup, literally you're establishing a magnetic field, electromagnetic
Mm-hmm.
field. That's basically it. And
Yeah.
your string is in there, and your string is a ferromagnetic, and it's disturbing the field, and there's the reason for your sound and all that. So what I don't understand, what very few people seem to be talking about, which I think is super important, is how far away is that pickup from that string? Pickup heights. You could make sometimes what a pickup that you might think is crappy sound good just literally by raising it a little bit or dropping it a little bit,
Yeah.
and I've experienced that, and and when I've done it, I've just the for me, I just use my ear. I don't there, because everybody's got specs. Oh, this distance for this pickup or that one, whatever.
Sure.
I just I take the guitar, put it on my lap, turn it up relatively loud, clean, no effects whatsoever, and I just raise it and drop it, and you'll hear a sweet spot. And you go past that sweet spot, it starts to sound a little too muddy. You go below that sweet spot, you start to lose a little too much signal, but there's always that point where everything sounds at its best, and that's where you stop.
Yeah.
I don't know why more people don't do that, because you could probably get pickups that you may think need to be replaced, or maybe that are just too, because you always hear that all these pickups are woolly sounding, or these
Right.
pickups are too bright, or what. Drop them, drop them or raise them.
Right.
I think that makes, so that getting to what you were saying about all the variables, that's one variable that you don't hear a lot about.
Correct.
Visual guy is saying, finally, someone talking about adjusting. Always adjust first, change later. Good one. Thanks. See, there you go. So I'm not the only one. Here's a question for you, Josh, from Jerry W. What is Josh's opinion of amp modelers? Well, from a
they've
guy who worked on amps, so I think I know where you're going to go with it.
yeah, look, I mean, they've gotten a lot better. And I agree with a lot of the guys who have touring with a Kemper is so much
It's
easier,
yeah.
than touring with a couple heads and a couple cabs. And I agree. Your audience will not know the difference. But the damn problem is I still know the difference. And when I'm sitting in a room playing through a modeling system, I don't feel the only thing I can equate it to is I don't feel the air move. To me, there's just something to when those speakers are moving air that you lose when you're going, through a modeler direct to the board. And in my opinion, you still kind of lose it when you go modeler to amp to cabinet. There's still something that's just missing, man. And I think it was Kerry King who said it, about his Marshalls, you want to feel your balls rattle. And I've never heard it put any better than that.
Well, it does paint a picture, yeah.
so, I mean, for you Slayer fans, Kerry's always standing in front of his wall. And again, when he put that quote down, that about summed it up for me.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so let's say if anyone's got any more questions, please just tag me and let me say hello to a few more people that popped in here. Music Therapy Laz is here. I'm probably missing a bunch of people. I apologize. Jack Daniels 10101. Pooh Ninja, there's another funny name. How you doing, dude? The Blues Dude is in here. Oh yeah, William De Silva, Bobby Lopes is in here. BC Rich 581, Zach Thong, Preston Smith. All right, if I missed you, I apologize. Just tag me. Oh, wait a minute. Here's a question for you. Guitar Hack. Ask Josh about potting and high gain. There's a good question.
Yeah. I believe that if your coils are wound correctly, you don't need to pot them. Now, again, if you're playing in a small club and you got a full stank crank to 11 and you're 3 feet in front of it, yeah, pot them. But I mean, outside of that, if your pickups are wound correctly, meaning the tension in the coil, it shouldn't be an issue.
Right. I got a comment here from Jack Daniels 101. He says, I'll rent a Marshall stack when I play at a rehearsal studio because feeling the volume is real, but at home modeling is how I roll.
Yeah, well, yeah, and that makes sense, man.
At home, yeah. Hey, there's Jay Burrow, another new name. Welcome to the channel. Visual Guy says that question was about the question from Jerry W. who was having noise. About the potting. Okay. I missed that. If you want to re-ask that, Visual Guy or Jerry W., I'll keep an eye on the chat. I'll keep an eye on the chat. So you're mentioning the PR thing, and so what other companies are you involved with on that side of things?
Well, I mean, just make sure we all understand. I mean, just because they're clients of mine on the PR front doesn't mean that they include Sheptone pickups in their product or anything of
Right,
that
right.
sort. I run them totally independent of each other. But current clients are PV Electronics. We do all the PR for PV. So when I say that includes their press releases, their product launches, all their media coverage when we're at NAM and during the show, and that not only includes their musical instrument products that we all know, but PV also has a large commercial audio division that the speakers and paging systems in airports and museums and stuff like that.
Right.
Court guitars, they're the second largest manufacturer of guitars in the world. They've been a client of mine forever. I've worked with them on many projects before they became a client of mine. Nexi pedals out of the Netherlands, kind of a new line of pedals. Their current client, obviously Sheptone. NAM is a client on and off. I've worked on projects for them in the past. Yeah, NAM.
Oh, okay.
And then there's small projects that I will work on. There's past clients. I mean, it's a revolving door, if you will.
Cool. Let me know if there's any more questions out there, folks. So let's go back a little bit. When you were out there, you said you wanted to give it a go as a professional musician. So what type of music were you playing? Were you doing, obviously, if you want to be I guess originals, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, no, I learned really quick that those don't pay. The issue was, going back when I was in high school, we had our daughter really young. I was in high school, so I was working my ass off. I had a graveyard job as a quote unquote night manager at a retirement home. But I was vacuuming all the floors and cleaning the bathrooms and crap like that. But in the mornings, I would have to hand a check to this guy that would come in and play piano. So I never knew what was in. I mean, I knew there was a check. How much I didn't know. But anyhow, at some point, I remembered that, and I started calling some of the retirement communities and asked if they paid to play, and they said yes. And so
Oh wow,
uh,
gig.
yeah, so out here, I got myself to a point where I was doing anywhere from 3 to 5 of those performances a day, and then I would teach, a couple students in the afternoon, and then should it be worth my while, I go play in a club. But those day gigs are the ones that really paid the bills.
Oh, cool.
I made more money doing that than I do now, um, easily. But I had injured my hand, so I did a lot of that. And the cool thing about that was, that grew from retirement homes to hospice facilities to hospitals and junk like that. So you had a huge audience. I mean, I can go. I don't know what the proper name of them is, and forgive me if I offend anybody, but there were these places what I would call adult daycare centers. They're adults that for whatever reason were not able to function on their own
Right.
on a daily basis. So they went to these facilities, and the cool thing is they could be 18, they could be 60. So I could literally play Nirvana and Metallica and John Denver and old Stephen Foster songs. It was just a blast.
That's quite the niche market. Like I didn't even know something like that existed for an outlet for a musician. That's pretty cool, actually.
And the cool thing was is the very first place I called and they said yes we pay. I went there and I did. Some of you guys might know who Tuck Andress is. Great fingerstyle guitar player, jazz guy. Has this insanely beautiful arrangement of Somewhere Over the Rainbow. So I'm playing it. I'm in my head. I'm killing it. It sounds amazing. I'm getting it all, finger taps and harmonics and everything.
Hmm.
I finished playing, and there's like 50 people in there. Dead silence. I mean, nothing. I mean, I thought I slayed it. Like I was the greatest performance of my life. I just performed this masterpiece.
Right.
And the lady, the event director there, came over and she just she whispered into my ear, clearly you know how to play guitar, but they have no clue what you just did. She's like, can you read, music? I'm like, yeah. And so she went over and grabbed the book off the piano
Mm.
and put it in front of me, and it was just again a whole bunch of Stephen Foster songs. Oh Susanna, she'll be coming around the mountain, home on the range, and stuff like that.
Right, right.
So basically cowboy chords and sing. I started doing that, and they all came to life. They're all singing along. They all loved it.
That's really cool.
Yeah, she ends up happy. She called the facility down the road, told them about me, and it just kind of spread like wildfire. And again,
That's
I'd
pretty,
spend one day in San Diego, one day in Riverside, one day in LA, one day in Orange County, and I just rotated all week.
that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So we got another question. This brings it right back to pickups again. So Watchman for you is asking Guitar Hack, if you put covers on uncovered humbuckers, should they be wax potted? I put some on a set of humbuckers and I started getting that unspotted feedback screech.
You don't need to pot them. I would venture to say that you probably just need to reposition the cover. Now that's going to be a little bit of a pain because you have to reheat those solder joints. And well, actually, that'd be the first question: did you solder them on, or are they loose? Because if they're loose, that could be the culprit as well.
Okay, so that poses another big debate.
Mm-hmm.
Do covers on pickups make a difference in the tone?
Again, if you're sitting there in the studio, yes, you can hear it. Will your fan hear it? Your fan's going to have no clue, but you will. And really, at the end of the day, that's all that matters. But so yes, it does make a difference. It takes a little bit of the top end off.
So it does like what material are they making pickup cover? Is it a ferromagnetic in there?
I use nickel silver. German silver is all I will use. Now, some manufacturers use brass, and brass, to my opinion, just kills all of it. Yeah, I mean, brass just absorbs everything and just kills it. Takes all the life out of it. So I'll use a German silver and only a German silver.
Jay Steen is asking, how come American hand wound pickups are usually better than overseas pickups? Is it mostly materials and attention to detail?
And what you're willing to pay. I mean, most people overseas, whether it's in Asia or Germany, can make a great product. Most people just aren't willing to pay for it. They have access to the same materials I do. So again, the other issue, when I approach building a pickup for my customer, the cost of the material is not the concern. The concern is how will it sound. So again, if you're kind of comparing like what we do is a Sheptone product to say a mass-produced pickup overseas, say in Asia, it's more important for them to get the cost down. So plastic that's used in the bobbin makes a difference. So there are cheaper plastics that you can get to lower your costs. Those will affect the sound. Likewise with the base plate. Base plates is another place where you can save a lot of money. I mean, you can cut your costs by 75% by switching out the base plate material, and that's huge when it comes to a retail price in a pickup. So there's a couple factors, but they can make them. They make good pickups too. They're out there.
Dorothy hates advertising. There's a new name, and welcome to the channel. Is Sheptone planning on getting into the string market?
How dare you? I told you it'd come out before the end of the show.
Oh, there it is.
Look, the one thing that I am more fanatical about than pickups is strings, and I've notoriously been a string snob. I mean, back to when I was performing for a living, I really became a string snob. And so, yes, there is a plan. It is in the works. I literally have prototypes right over there. And I've had this conversation with a couple string manufacturers throughout my career, and more so that now that I have Sheptone and learned how Shep did some things to how he made his pickups. And I kind of took some of those ideas and applied them to a string. And for now, it seems to be working out pretty good. We already had a couple different manufacturers. I'm not going to make them myself. I'll tell you that right now. I'm not going to go buy this.
Oh, that's a whole other thing.
Yeah. But again, I pretty much know, well, not every string manufacturer, but it's a good majority of them. And so I've had a couple of them build me different prototypes just to see. We're pretty close. I'm on, like I said, I think the second run of prototypes. But yes, that is in the plans.
Without giving away any secrets, like what's going to make your strings special or different than, say, an Ernie Ball or a D'Addario or?
Again, kind of what we were alluding to before with the price of pickups. Why is one pickup more expensive than the other? And yes, it's materials, but in addition to that, it's the time you take to make the product. And I'm not looking to cut costs in when I make this product. So I have the time to take the time that I feel is necessary to wind a string and at the right tension, and pay a little extra for better quality materials than maybe most manufacturers will use.
So you're looking at basically like a premium string.
Yeah. I'm not going to be able to compete with. Look, I love Ernie Ball, I love GHS, I love all D'Addario, all of them. I mean, but there's no way that I will be able to compete with a string that is retailing at $4.99.
Yeah.
So I just can't do it. And to be quite honest with you, I don't want to anyhow. That's not what this string is about. So it's in the plans. It's how soon it happens, I don't know. But like I said, strings. Man, I mean, Gary Kaler and I used to have talks about strings all the time, because with Kaler tremolos, the ball sits inside the cam of that bridge, unlike Floyd where you cut the ends off. And we used to have discussions about string material and windings and all that stuff. I mean, I kid you not, Gary and I could go into the wee hours of the night talking about this stuff in the back of the shop. But so it's going to be fun. It'll be exciting to see where it goes.
Oh, cool. Cool. There's another question. Guitar Hack, have you or Josh tried the flat patch cables for pedals like those made by Rockboard or the EBS Pros? He says he likes them to take up less, but I've never used the flat patch cords.
I haven't. And I don't know exactly what I'm assuming he's talking about, like the ribbon cables, like you would see connecting, boards and whatnot inside a computer or whatever. But I haven't seen them.
Oh, here's a good question from the Dog Pop. He's saying, who still uses ceramic mags for pickups? Gibson does, for one.
I know Gibson has a set. I was just looking at someone else who had them. I don't see them nearly as much. I literally have a box still sitting in the shop that Shep had, and I think Shep used them twice before I bought the company, and that box is still there. I mean, no one's ever. But again, that's not something that Sheptone's recognized or known for. But I'm sure other people are out there using them. They have a cool place, in the spectrum of pickups. Yeah.
What's the difference between like a ceramic and like an alnic? Or how would you describe the main difference between the two? Because I know what I think about it and what you kind of hear about it, but I want to hear from you what you think the big difference is.
Well, I think, again, there's more compression on the frequency response, and because of that compression, it appears to be louder. Your resistance is going to come from the coils, but it's going to make it appear louder just simply because of that compression.
All right. Okay. BV Ninja, salute Guitar Hack, talking strings, then try Gabriel Tenorio handmade strings. They rule. Okay. Never heard of
Yeah, I've never heard of those. No.
heard of those. BV Ninja is in, oh man, I'm gonna get this wrong. Switzerland, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, BV. Okay, Marco's Images, thanks for watching. He's got to go. Docpa's got another question. He says, I have a DiMarzio multi-bucker that uses ceramics, which is why it works. I hear two ceramic pickups next to each other in one pickup. You're saying they're two, so it's a humbucker? I'm not sure. I'm sure he'll clarify.
Yeah, I'm not sure where we're going with that.
Yeah. Well, DiMarzio, I guess, would be another one.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, yeah, maybe that's his point. I mean, yeah, DiMarzio makes great stuff too.
Yeah. Actually, yeah. And Hobarodi's saying ferrite has lower density of strength than Alnico. Okay. All right. We're getting close to. Now, I usually do these for an hour. So if anyone's got any last minute questions or comments for Josh, please let me know. In the meantime, I want to thank everyone that has tuned in for checking out the show. Folks, if I see a lot of new names here, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Please hit the like button. I should have mentioned this at the top. If my mods are in here, would you mind throwing up the link for Sheptone? I do have Josh's link below, and I also have it up in the cards. But if one of my mods could throw up the link, I would really appreciate that. Okay, Visual Guy's got another question. He says, if we have time, how important is the wind pattern in PAFs?
Very. You can change the color and tone of a pickup by changing the pattern. And what I'm envisioning here when we're talking about patterns is the orientation of that coil to the magnet and the slug and the poles. So it does make a difference.
Okay, BV Ninja, yeah, okay, I was ready. BV Ninja's in Switzerland, but Gabriel that he's talking about is in California. Josh Smith sent me along. Okay, cool, BV. Here's feta fried rice. Okay, new name. Welcome to the channel. How does the Sheptone compare to the 57 Classics? Well, I guess you'd have to be more specific. Which Sheptone pickups? Because there was a few of them. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the closest, probably the best reference would be the tributes. And look, I mean, you're asking the guy who makes the Sheptone tributes. I mean, the whole reason Shep designed them, and the whole reason I bought it and continued what Shep started, was because I think they're better. Um, there is, and I don't know if either Robbie Miller or Visual Guy can speak to this, but it's hard to explain when you don't have them and you can't hear them. But there is a presence, a brilliance, and a life that comes to what I would like to think in my tribute pickups that you don't get in a Gibson Classic. Again, there's just more dynamics to the overall tone. I've yet to figure out a better way to describe it and answer that question. But again, we're also asking the guy who builds and owns Sheptone. So yeah, I think mine are better.
Oh, yeah, of course. Well, and if you didn't, you'd be in the wrong business.
Well, yeah.
Brian S is saying he got here late. No worries. Thanks for being here, Brian. I like to know the pickups that Josh make. What's his personal favorite?
I'll swap them in and out just to test things while I'm building whatever. I still always go back to the tributes because I can make a tribute sound like any other pickup I have in the product line by tweaking my amp or touch or tone knob. However, it's easier to add to your tone, but to take away is a lot harder. So again, I can't get a Heartbreaker bridge pickup to sound like the tribute bridge pickup because it's a hotter signal. There's more winds on it. The stagger between the two coils is by far different. It's just not going to happen. So my go-to, tribute, you just can't go wrong.
Okay. Here's another question. Sour Notes is asking, will your pickups fit in his Kiesel Aries?
I'm not familiar with any of Jeff's models, Jeff Kiesel. And the Aries is one that, I parted with Carvin, I think in 2001, 2002. I mean, Jeff's making great stuff. I just don't know which one's an Aries and which one's whatever else he's making. But I can make it fit. It's going to be an issue with the base plate. So if you wanted to order one, I would just pull it up online or call Jeff. It's just going to be the base plate that I would imagine I have to change out, that's no big deal. It's no additional cost to you.
Okay. So what I'll do, folks, is I'll throw in your email if you're okay with that. info@Sheptone.
Yeah, put the info in one. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, here I'll type it in the chat. It's info@Sheptone.
Yeah.
Sheptone, is it
Yeah, Sheptone.com.
.com?
Yeah.
There you go. So if anyone has questions for Josh, you can reach him by email there. His link is also below, as I mentioned earlier. And yeah, so Josh, I want to thank you for doing this, man. This was cool. The hour just flew by.
I greatly appreciate the opportunity, man. I really do. Look forward to doing it again sometime.
Hey, anytime you want. Is there anything you want to, since we got you here, and the last things you wanted to mention while I get you here?
Well, the biggest thing is thank you. Thank you to you and everybody who's out there participating. I mean, I greatly appreciate you guys taking the time. As I alluded, there are some new things in the pipeline. Nothing really to go into detail just yet. So just kind of, hook up where you normally hook up, whether it's on Instagram, Facebook. I'm not really big on Twitter. I see it, but I don't participate a whole lot on Twitter. Or sign up for the newsletter. I mean, sign up for the newsletter. I give away a set every month, a free set to subscribers. So I pick one subscriber. So So I mean, that's something I started with Shep back in 2008. We've done it every month since then. So we've given away quite a few sets. But somehow interact with me and stay in the loop, and don't ever hesitate to give me feedback on anything. I'm open. I want to hear it all, good, bad, ugly. And if you're looking for something you don't see, ask anyhow, because it might be something that I do and it just never made the website.
Okay.
So there's a couple of those.
And I can attest to that, you returning emails, because I know my brother has been emailing you a lot, and you always get back to him. So, all right, man. I want to thank you very much. I want to thank everybody for checking out the show. You guys rock, and hey, have a great weekend. We're almost there. All right, everybody.
Thank you, man. Take care.
All right, cheers.
Bye.